Good evening, everybody. How we doing this evening? It's a fantastic day, isn't it? I tried to turn the air conditioning on. Marvin told me not to, so there's a big bus out there, Marvin. Okay.
The fan was too noisy, so I just turned it off.
Again, I asked for the fan, and you said to no. I asked for the
Well, you're down here. He's down there. You know what I mean? Anyhow, Larry's all hooked up and he's ready to go. I didn't write stuff down tonight. We got any new people out here? I know we got old people. New people? No guests? One guest? Hey, man in the back, red shirt. You got to stand up and, tell us who you are, where you're from, what do you do?
Okay, I'm Bob Jeffrey. I'm from Carmel, Indiana. I was an art teacher, did a little woodworking, did a little painting. I'm a jeweler, so I've kind of dipped in a lot of pools here, but not particularly successful in any of them. But I had a lot of fun.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for coming. Now at this time, it's your turn. I'm going to turn it over to Mike because this has to do with the bylaws and all that kind of good stuff. Mike's really up to speed on it. My speed is not real good, okay? So I'm going to let somebody talk to you that knows what's going on, and we'll kind of go from there. You want another hand or what? You all right?
Just a round of applause would be good. You have to unzip the pocket. There we go.
Stay in.
Okay. You hear me?
I can.
Do you want me to sing, dance, anything? No. So the bylaws are required to be edited every 5 years. This is the 5th year. It happens to be fortuitous because we wanted to change them anyway. So there are copies of the bylaws you get mailed out to you. There's copies of the changes. But to make sure we do this right and get it noted in the record, I'll go through very quickly what the big changes are. The first change really is the terms, which we have practiced the last couple of years. So the president term is 2 years. The vice president term is 2 years. Each officer is 2 years. The president only serves 2 years. The vice president serves 2 years as vice president, then 2 years as president. The secretary and treasurer can serve up to 6 years. That's the change. It used to be 1 year. Everybody changes 1 year, then all the voting. So we won't vote for president unless there's some kind of an opening that would change things. The second change is the number of board members. The old bylaws had founding members as board members and past presidents. Sadly, there's no more founding members left. The past president, having been by the new laws 4 years in office, didn't really make sense. If he hadn't turned things over by that time, it's bad anyway. So those are the main changes that are in it. The others are really editing changes. I can go through them if anyone wants me to go through them, if there's any questions. Any questions? Going once, going twice? And it's required for a majority of the members present to vote affirmative for the bylaws to be accepted. So to make it easier, anyone opposed? Anyone for? Motion is carried. The bylaws are adopted as of today. Thank you. I also put up here, for anyone who's interested, a treasury report from last year. It shows the income, the outflow, what we're doing. It's a nice little club. We're making about $150,000 a year. Oh, no, wait a minute. But more or less, the dues pay for what we do, and the tool sales are what give us all the extras. So we have tool sales here, we have donations. That's where the bigger income is from, so it's important. The raffle generally pays for the raffle prizes. and the door prizes. We changed the raffle, as everyone knows, but I want to go through it again because I keep getting questions about it. We have one bigger prize for $5 each chance. That prize will be drawn every month and given away that night. Ideally, of course, we don't lose money on the prize. So we're getting this prize tonight. It's about $125, which means it would be nice to get enough people to buy tickets to pay for the $125, because I really don't want to have to lower the value of that. It's kind of not as exciting.
What is the prize tonight?
Tonight is the Woodpeckers 6-inch stainless steel square. It's a really nice square. It has a depth gauge on the side. It stands up on its own. It has a holder that you can mount. It has the laser cut every 1/8 and 1/16 of an inch. So you can use it for a marking. You can lay out joinery. It's a really nice little tool. In fact, I bought a ticket because I said, this is really cool. Hopefully I can get $125 for 5, you know. But we'll do that kind of thing. What we did last month was 2 of the jet clamps. We'll do that again next month. These clamps are extra. They were selling for $45. We had them donated to us for $20, so we'd like to make money on it each. That's not total. They cost about $75 if you buy them, these bar clamps. So we're trying to raise money that kind of way. So I have to pay the guy for what he had in stock. These are brand new clamps, never been used, but I was able to get him to give it to us for $20 so we can make 20 on it. The other prize is the 50-50. That is a rollover prize. So the rollover, if no one wins, it rolls over and the money from this month goes into the next month as well. Last month we had $45 prize. So the minimum tonight is $45. We sold, I don't know how many tickets, but let's say $20 worth, that goes in there. 50-50 means 50% goes to the club, 50% goes into the pot. So if we have $20 in the prize money, that means $40 of tickets were sold. That gives us some earnings. The way it's set up is this highly sophisticated device made today. It's 10 cards, the ace of clubs and the 2 to 10 of clubs. So whomever gets their ticket drawn will pick one of these cards. If they pick the 5 of clubs, you win $5. 10 of clubs, you win $10. Ace of clubs, you win whatever the pot is. If you don't win anything, thank you for your $5. And we'll turn that card over so it comes out of the deck. That means next month, if nobody wins, it's a 1 in 8 chance. Goes all the way until the ace of clubs is drawn. So it can get pretty interesting. Or you could win right away and not win very much. But tonight it's going to be probably 60, I don't know how much we have, $80, something like that. I haven't counted it yet. But at the break I'll tell you how much we have. So you can pay more than $5 each time. You can buy more than one ticket. We'd like that to raise more money. The other thing I have is the picnic. April 14th is the picnic. Please sign up for the picnic. And the way the picnic works, you agree to bring in a potluck kind of dish. There's a suggestion of whether you bring a dessert or a vegetable or whatever. I'm not going to hold to that. And I have a sign-up sheet for what dish you prefer to bring. I just want to control so we don't have so many baked beans, like I said. Yes. 2 o'clock. Remember, we'll put that down.
Just to get back to the drawing of the cards.
Yep.
Person who draws, their ticket is pulled out.
Their ticket is
All
dead.
the others stay in.
That's correct.
I just want to make sure.
Nope. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. If you win by getting your ticket drawn, that's it. You don't guarantee to win the prize. So it comes out if you're drawn. So you got to pay another $5.
But if you bought this originally, your $5 ticket is still in there.
Stays there until the ace of
Someone
clubs.
brings the ace.
The ace of clubs. That's
I
right.
want to make sure everybody knows.
Right. That's a good point. Thank you very much. Again, make sure you signed up because the door prizes now we have is 3 door prizes, a little bit nicer door prizes instead of all the 7, 8 that we had before. Just because I'm too lazy myself to call that many numbers. So, but we're trying again, get a little bit nicer prizes. So we'll get that. Any other questions? That's all I got. I appreciate it. Thank you much.
Thanks, Mike. Do a good job. Something I don't have to do. Yeah, somebody didn't sign up. Hey, if you need a badge or want a badge, okay, if you want to know, if you want me to know what your name is, yes. Anyhow, so there's badges there. I just took the picnic thing, put the clipboard out, and passed it around. So sign up and do whatever. There's a couple other things going on for it. So, did you sign up the sign-up sheet? You did not, because I saw you come in late. Not too late, just late. Okay, come on over. So, okay, now, we got a little contest coming up. Okay? And that's this little bugger. This is a 2x4. Shh. The rules, there's rules that, some of you've done this a lot more than I have. The biggest thing is you make everything from the 2x4. That's the biggest rule to the whole thing. Somebody asked me if they could use cotton balls, and you know, yeah, I don't know, as long as it's not making the piece, you know what I mean? But yeah, so there's if, ands, and buts, but 90%, there's something in there's rules and regulations, but as long as you stay with the 2x4, and I already bought mine, so I've already entered the contest right here, right now. That's a nice 2x4. You'd be surprised how long I had to pick to find this. Okay. We have a fantastic individual tonight. I don't think, yeah. 4. He's part of our club, and he is a carver. I've been impressed with his work. He bailed us out at the last minute and said, yeah, I'll come help. So he's come and help. Richard?
He asked me if I would talk, and I said, I like talking.
So I'm going to turn it over to you, Richard.
Okay. Richard Valenta, I've been a member for a few months, and my background is I started my career as an industrial arts teacher, taught a little bit of everything. Then I went into industry where I could make money, and that was from there, though. I did a lot of woodworking. I had a shop out in the garage in the basement, and my father-in-law came along one day and he said, I just learned how to carve. You should learn how to carve. And he had a Band-Aid there and a Band-Aid there, and I said, no way. No way. And then he took me to a carving show, a woodworker's show a few months later, and I bought 3 tools, a V-tool, a gouge, and a knife, and it's been my main hobby ever since. And I bought a lot more tools, but I really enjoy carving. When I was asked to talk about carving or demonstrate carving tonight, my first thought was, what can I do that is going to interest everybody here, or as many people as possible? I know there's some of you that are carvers, and you're going to, in fact, maybe even better at me at many of the things that I have here. But that are carvers are going to be very interested. There are people that are wood turners. I'm going to hopefully talk to you a little bit about what you can do to accent your wood turnings, and people that just do cabinetry and so on. And I'll talk a little bit about how I've taken my carvings and improved or made individual projects out of these simple step stools or whatever, but just by adding carving to them, and they become one of a kind at that point. But so I hopefully it'll be something for all of you when you get done here. But what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to talk to you about the wide range of carving that is out there. And at the end, if there's something that sparks your interest and something that the entire group would like to know more about and have further demonstrations on that, I can come back and just concentrate on one portion of it. Also, if there's some of you that want to get together in small groups and learn how to do any of these different types of carvings, whether it's flat plane carving, in a round plane, the chip carving, relief carving, if you want to get together to do that, I'd be very willing to come in and teach. Because I've had some fantastic teachers myself, and I always like to pass it on. Okay, I'm going to start off by telling you a little bit about the different types of carving, what type of tools you need, where you get your materials from, if you're interested in that phase of the carving. The first thing I'm going to talk to you about is chip carving. Chip carving, because it's the simplest one to get started. Chip carving is just removing chips in order to make a pattern. And the chips, this plate was purchased. I didn't turn this on lathe, but you can turn it on lathe, but they're all made out of basswood. This is a box that I made for my in-laws' 50th wedding anniversary. When you open it up, it plays the anniversary waltz, and it has their name inside there. Again, chip carving is just removing some basic chips in order to get the shadows in the piece of wood. One knife is all you need to buy. If you want to accent it, you can. Some of these were plunges that I use. It's a plunging knife, but one knife is all you need in order to get started in chip carving. Where do you get the products from? Like I said, you can either make them. My wife said, "Where'd you get that box from?" I said, "A board." but that, like I said, the plate I actually bought. The hand tools that I have lots of hand tools. I don't really collect them. I keep saying if they wear out, I'm going to buy another one just in case they wear out. I had all kinds of hand tools and stuff, and they're sitting in my cabinet at home. This is basically what I carve almost everything with. There's some number 3s in here. There's some 5s. There's some V tools and knives. I make my own knives out of old straight razors. Keeps the edge better than anything else out there. But these are the basic tools I use. And then for some of the larger ones, I do have a variety of larger tools, gouges and V tools and flat ones. But these are the types that you need to use a little bit of force to cut with them, or two hands. And the types of things that you can make with that, you can just, one of the first things I made was, I'll show you that. Where is it? I lost it. Here. This is what I made with the 3 tools, the V tool, knife, and gouge. I looked at it and I said, I need some lessons. And my wife looks at it and says, nice folk art. I got, this is folk art. But it was one of the first Santas that I ever made. And I got into making Santas because my wife wanted to spend all kinds of money buying them. So I was cheap, and I said, I'll make them for you. But hand tools are, I'm not going to get into sharpening them because that's a whole nother class. But if you don't have sharp tools, don't even try to carve because you're gonna cut yourself. When you start off, the other thing I want to tell you about is I hate it when people come along and say, what are you doing there, whittling? Whittling is taking a pocket knife and carving something out of it. But this is the art of carving. This is basically a little bit of whittling. And it's where you take a block of wood, cut out the basic shape, square shape, and you remove the chips. This was done mostly with a knife, just a knife in here. So there is some whittling that I have here. This is a ball in a cage, and I did a lot of that with a knife. Oops. what, I lost my train of thought. And most of the pieces that I have, when I carve them, I start out with just bandsawed shapes. So what tools do you need? You need a bandsaw, you need a table saw, and mostly basswood. And this was carved out of a piece of wood like that. This one like that. So these are Christmas ornaments, or you can have them standing around, and they go over really well at Christmas time. When I have even great nephews and nieces that get some every year. I don't have any great grandchildren at all, so I have to give them to other people. This is an interesting piece. It's a bird dog. And I used this one when I used to grow my beard longer. I played Santa, and some kids would be a little shy. I say, "You want to see something?" I told my elves, I said, "I want a bird dog carved." Well, one elf heard that I wanted a bird carved. The other one heard I wanted a dog carved. And they'd come up and they'd start laughing, and they'd sit next to me, and this is a way of attracting them. So that's why I carved that. So the basic tools to get started. Really, a bandsaw is one of the basic tools or a scroll saw in the case of if they're really small. This is can you see it? This is just a small pattern. It's an angel, and ended up doing a small angel, but that was carved out of that block. If you want to get into cypress knee carving, you need power tools. Well, let me stay with the hand tools first. Animals. This one was made using all hand tools. There was no power tools at all on this one, but it started with a rough out. And if you don't know what a rough out is, it's where you'll take a model. In this case, I made a clay model. And you make a rough out of that, and you end up carving your Santa out of that. This one here, I made this rough out after the clay model. I carved the elf then. But this is something where you need special equipment for that. It's something that not everybody has. And I'm the type of guy, if one is good, two is better. I have two of them to do that. And okay, the first thing that if you have any questions, please come up with that. Please ask. But I make the clay model first, and then I have a piece of equipment that has a router over here and a probe over here, and the probe will follow the piece that I'm carving. I turn it quarter turn, do that side, turn it quarter turn. I end up with a rough out like this. Now, it gives me the basic shape. It takes a lot of rough stuff away so that I can get to this. If I made a dozen of these to give away or sell, it'd take me a lot longer if I started with a block of wood than if I went and started with a rough out. This is an example of something over here that I started with a block of wood, and I have a lot of hours in it. I had this picture of a Norman Rockwell, the old man on a rocking horse with a child behind him, and I wanted to carve that, but I wanted a Santa. So I took it, and on a 4-inch thick block of wood, I cut this shape out. I didn't have this cut out, but I cut the outside shape out. And this is, I'm almost done with it. This is the carving from it. But to do this, I have 4 or 5 times the hours in it compared to if I had a rough out to start with. But I'm only going to make one. It'll be the only one I'll ever make, so I was willing to do that. And it's just about ready for painting. So this is just using a bandsaw.
Roughly how many hours were in that already?
I couldn't tell you. If I sold it for $1,000, I wouldn't be making much per hour. This was also made by just bandsawing around it too. And on all these pieces, when you start off with a center line, And this is actually me when I was 50 years old. And I was taking a class. I've had some outstanding teachers over the years, and like I said, that's why I'm willing to share my what I was taught and my experiences. But the Ivan Willock in Faribault, Minnesota, he first time I saw him, he was carving a 7-foot tall Jesus figure with a robe on, just beautiful work. And I took a couple classes from him, and I wanted to do a child angel. And he said, well, draw it. I can't draw, I said. So he went and set up the class where he took pictures of us front, back, both sides in a pose. And from there, we carved ourselves. Everything is based off the height of the head, the arms, and all the measurements, because a photo distorts the picture. I mean, it's not a... you have to adjust the measurements in order to get the correct dimensions on arms, legs, and so on. And so this was carved by him taking a picture of us from 4 sides and ended up being me. But now, I'm glad that there's a defect in this one. I'm glad the defect wasn't a little bit lower. Because that would have been embarrassing. And I've had birds. Most of my birds that I carved were rough house too. This is an owl, and this was it wasn't a rough one. I'm sorry. It was just a bandsaw cut piece of wood, and it ended up being that owl. This one, I took the class from a gentleman in Chicago, and he, master carver, very, very good master carver. And I never was able to take another class from him because he passed away of brain cancer a year later. So I was fortunate enough to do that. And then I went and taught, the next time I taught the class to a friend of doing another. What I learned, I was able to apply to other birds and teach a class in that. My wife likes the Buddha figure. And so this was actually done from rough out. It was a concrete ornament from outside, and I roughed it out with that and ended up being Buddha. And no, I did not model for this one. Okay. Many people, when they look at the birds or animal, or what they look at all kinds of pictures, and not every picture. Some have filters on those pictures. Some are with brighter lights, so the animal looks different, and the colors. And he said you have to pick one picture and go with that. And then the other thing he did in here is when you paint in the flat, you have to paint so that you highlight the highs and lows of a feather, darker on the outside edge. And he actually did that on this, even though it's in a round. And I asked him why, and he said because when he shows his birds, he's won national competition. When he shows the birds, sometimes the lighting in the building is very poor. And so no matter what kind of lighting is in the building, you will have a good-looking bird. And so it wasn't just a carving from him, but the fine techniques of painting really helped me out too. But then sometimes I carve things just for fun. A snowman's holding his ears, he's a whistle. Snowman eating a icicle. This is just a piece of basswood bark that I just carved a Santa face in. And those I can carve probably 15 minutes I could have that carved. And it was fun to do. This one here, I thought this is a moving one. And I had to make the wire and everything, and the wire that's actually on here is, you see these flags that they put out for marking gas and water lines and everything? that has the right tensile strength in order to keep its shape here. Because they have to stick it in the ground and it can't bend. And so that's what I used the wire on here for. But that was just for fun too. I also carved bark and cottonwood bark. This cottonwood bark is from Wisconsin. The upper states, it's about 1.5 inches thick. This cottonwood bark can be up to 4 inches thick. It's either from Montana that I got, or it's British Columbia. It's some of the best places that I've got. I happen to have a brother-in-law that lives in Montana, so I get a box shipped to me once in a while. But from the bark houses, I've made small bark houses, and these can just sit on the counter, or you can hang them in the Christmas tree. I got a couple hanging in my Christmas tree. It starts out with 2 pieces. You rough out the outside. You cut it to the basic shape. You take it apart. You hollow out the inside. You glue it together. Then you finish carving the outside again. And this is a bigger one that I did from the thicker bark. And I asked, what are the rules with carving a bark house? And he said, no straight lines. That's the only rule that was out there. So this one doesn't have any straight lines. But instead of having a chimney like most of them, I put a wood spirit on top of there. And so it has, he's blowing smoke out of his mouth then. And I didn't show, I took a class in carving an animal. I taught a class in carving an animal, the polar bear. And so if you teach after you learn a process, it sinks in a little bit more. Because, and the other thing that I noticed with some of the best teachers I had is they teach you to see what you're looking at. And it might sound funny. You look at things all your life. Do you really see it? And you see things from the front, you see things from the side. You don't always see the transition. And so some of the best carvers, teachers, like I said, were good at showing me to see what I was, or teach me what I was looking at, to see what I was looking at. And that's what I try to do whenever I teach a class myself. This is a cypress knee. These were easy to get at one time, and I think they put restrictions on it now. But from there, we carved face in there. This was a mountain man that was carved in there. Now he has a thin face, but you have to go by what material is given to you in there. So this was a mountain man. This is a combination wood burning and carving. Now, if you do something like this here, you cannot use a standard knife on there. It'll crush. And the same thing with this owl that I did. This is Tupelo. And it'll you use only power tools on that. The rest of the stuff is mostly basswood. This is relief carving. And relief carving is you create shadows again like you do in chip carving. Okay. I had a brain. But chip carving. But if you took a straight edge and you put it across here, this is all the same height. And by cutting at the right angle and stuff, you create shadows. And by creating the shadows, you create a picture from there. There's also wood burning is another thing I've learned. And first time I went to a national show in Iowa, and I looked and I said, why are there pictures in this competition? I thought maybe they were showing the picture frames, and that was part of the competition. But it's actually wood burning, and if you burn it right, it'll look like a picture out there. And so Sharon, she was an outstanding teacher, and I was fortunate enough to take a class with her too. But wood burning is something that if you, like I said, you learn how to adjust your wood burner, you can create pictures from them, and she was fantastic at it. I have also, very light, it's a spoon. And my wife said, "Why do you want to carve a spoon?" I said, "Because I never did it before." And she said, and I said, "By the way, in some countries, you carve a spoon for the one you love. And the fancier the spoon, the more you love them." She said, "Better damn well be fancy." So this is my only attempt at carving a spoon. And so that was for my wife. I guess I didn't find anybody else to carve a loving spoon for. The canes. I showed you some canes out there. But this is a form of relief carving here. I'll show you that first. And this is a form of relief carving. And this one has a wood spirit in it, and it has the flowers, leaves, and my wife liked it so much she said she wants a bird on top, and this is her cane then if she needs. This one I just finished this past year, and it was a pattern I put on there, and the reason why I added wood burning in along there is to accent the lines, but also there was fuzz I couldn't get out in there, and wood burner actually burned that out of there, and I could just go in and brush it off, and it made it a lot easier to look. It looked a lot nicer too.
What kind of wood is that?
This is basswood. This is basswood. The handle is walnut. This one here is aromatic cedar. And this is much like this one, where there was a branch and a larger branch and a smaller branch. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to curve this so that it will be the proper grip. I have the right height. But this is basswood. It was something that was at the recycle area when I took my grass clippings there. And so this is going to be a cane. But this one here was a piece that was set up much the same as that. There was a larger branch here, and this was a smaller branch. And since it's red cedar, I went and carved a red fox sleeping on it. So that's on the end of the handle there. But this one, the only finish that's on here is a paste wax. There's nothing else on there. So every so often I just put a little more paste wax on it. Oh, that was another thing. These carved, this is butternut. And so you can carve other woods too. But the basswood and a lot of these pieces, if you just put a natural finish on, I had a hard time putting a finish on because the end grain would soak in. It was always dry. I had one piece I kept putting it on. I think it was so heavy. It was because it was soaked with the varnish I was trying to put on. Then I asked Ivan, the one that was doing the 7-foot tall Jesus figure. I said, "What do you finish your carvings with?" Deft. It's all I used. He went and he says it's a sealer and it's a finish, and it soaks in the end grain. The first couple of coats you put on with a brush in order to have it soak in, and after that, the last coat or two you spray on, and it gives it the right shine. But Deft was if you're having trouble with the end grain soaking in and having a dull finish, Deft is what we used. Yes. And they changed the formula, and they have a water base. I don't like the water base as well as the original. Okay, the tools. I talked to you a little bit about the hand tools for carving. There are also power tools. You can go real inexpensive. This is something I got from Harbor Freight. Oh no, it's Black & Decker. But I also have some from Harbor Freight, and these are just a Dremel type tool. You have, put that down. You can have tools that have, I should both, here we go. This is a micro tool. You put that in there, you can adjust that speed and forward or backward. Sometimes you need that. You have all the way up to the more expensive ones I have. It's called a Fordham. or a wheat shear. This is not an octopus. This is where you hang it up. It has a flexible shaft, and this end piece changes, and you have a foot control, or you can have a rheostat on there. And the rheostat are if you want a constant speed, it's instead of adjusting with your foot all the time, it works much better. But these are a little bit more expensive, but they work really, really well for doing these bark houses and so on. On there, you have different types of holders, which lock the piece in. Smaller. And I went to one class, and the instructor had 2 of those, so I had to have 3. So I bought 3 of them. I got 3 of them at home now. And what type of bits do you put in there? I'll show that here. There's various types of bits. They have burrs on them, large ones, smaller ones, and diamond or ruby bits are the types that I use. And there's also stones. When I do the birds, I will use stones, actual various shapes of stones. And you get your favorites and whatever works for you. This here is a whole set of diamond tools. I got that at Harbor Freight for just a few dollars, and they work just as well as most of the other ones. But some of these other ones are they can get kind of expensive. But Harbor Freight does have a few things that work well too. And wood burning. I have a wood burner that has set up for 2 different tips. Sometimes I'm using the flat one for going around the edge of the feather. Sometimes I need a finer one for doing the feather. Sometimes I need round. So instead of changing the bits the tips all the time, I like a double burner. And the types of burners that I use. I lost them. Oh, thank you. It's not the same type of burner you had when you were in the Boy Scouts or whatever. These here have different types of pens. These are all the same, but the tips are the things that you look at. Some of them are for writing. I have a double one here. It's a double tip, and it's hard to see from back there, but it actually makes 2 cuts at once when I'm putting the fur on the animals. This double tip one doubles the amount of hairs I can put on at a time. And there's some finer ones, some longer ones, but these are the types of tips that are interchangeable, and get them in. Not all these things. Oh, where do I get my tools from? There are carving shows. Punta Gorda had. I didn't look if they still have now, but they have a really good show. And that's the closest one that's over here. They always have people that sell tools there, and they'll sharpen your tools for you too there. When you get a tool, plan on sharpening it, because they never come. They say they're sharp. They're not sharp. I went in and was teaching a class, group of people, and one lady walked in and says, "I'm ready for you. I just bought all these tools, and they are sharp," he says. And I go, "Oh, my God." So at the lunch break, I had the sharpening equipment in my hotel room. I went over there, and I sharpened all her tools, and she came back, and she was surprised how much difference it makes. But a sharp tool is a safe tool. A dull tool is not a safe tool. I don't. A lot of my friends wear gloves, and I have larger hands, and it seems like the largest glove I can get, it's tight. My hands are tight. I can't grip the piece right. But when I was carving this one, I was going over here, and it slipped, and I cut myself right over here. And if I would have had a glove on, it probably would have worked better. Then I learned I should clamp that down, and I was going with 2 hands on it, and it's much safer. But that was I did cut myself over there. I always tell people that, and my wife will have a comment about it, but I said, I never had stitches because of carving. And my wife says, you should have. but no, I figure I have enough Band-Aids. I'll just wrap them up until it stops bleeding out, and after once I get the bleeding stopped, then it'll heal up. So, but no, I am fortunate enough that one of the worst cuts I had is my cat was on my workbench, and he was playing around, and he knocked one of these gouges off, and I had sandals on, went right between the leather and the sandals and hit my foot, and I told my wife, Carol, come quick, and I'll be right. No, now, because it was bleeding pretty good much, and so I had to go take the cat and put him out of the room so I could continue carving. But that was one of the worst cuts I had, is because of my cat. Oh, no, it was still in the ruffle when it was. I do these in stages. This one, I had the same thing with a relief carving. I needed to get this down to this. It was 4 inches thick. I had to get this down to about there. I knew about how long the arms should be, and so on. I went around and just got everything so it's about the right depth. The second time I went around it, I got a little bit finer based on the height of the heads and stuff, the lengths of the arm, the legs and everything, and got that adjusted. And by the time I get done, I go around it at least 4 times. This one will be probably 5 times by the time I get to the final detail on it. So rough it out, a little bit finer, and when it was in that original stage, I could clamp it here, and I could work with the larger tools with 2 hands. And that's an advantage with the larger tools also, is if you use 2 hands, you're not going to cut yourself, because you're holding on to the tool all the time. So
You're getting it down to the 4th and 5th level.
Mm-hmm.
What are you holding the piece?
I'm just holding it with my hand, because I'm not taking as big a cuts. When you first start out, you'll see chips, large chips all over the place. And then as you get down to the finer detail, the last ones, in fact, at the end, I carve in our sunroom. I don't even I have an apron that has a pocket on it. I don't even wear that, because a few little chips that go down on the rug carpet, I just vacuum them up then. And it's not that big, but the big chips, the vacuum wouldn't even take it. They're so big when I start off. So this is a basic carving. There's wood burning, relief carving, chip carving, bark carving, animal, birds, caricatures. It's just wood burning. I said that already. And if there's any of this that interests you to the point where you say, hey, could we get together, group of 5, 6, 7, whatever, and carve a Santa, carve a bird, carve whatever, I'd be willing to do that. If there's anything here you think that the whole group might like to do, then I will come back and show everybody. Now, I've used this carving, like I said, on wood turnings. I would glue a section of basswood or a wood that I could carve, because oak is awful to carve, and some of this wood is awful to carve. And I would carve a pattern of leaves or flowers or something like this in it. And when my granddaughter wanted a step stool, so she could stand by the sink and brush her teeth and see herself in the mirror, she picked a pattern out. I made the step stool, and then I carved some stuff in there, because it was a special step stool just for her. And I put Papa Loves Anna in there on the bottom of it. And so she's 25 years old now. She still has that stool. And so you can personalize your projects. picture frames, another good example where you can personalize them. So there's not another one out there in the whole world like it. It's yours. No one else will have it. And it doesn't take a lot of tools for some of that stuff. And it's just a little bit of patience. And by the way, they say, boy, look at your work. You must be a very patient man. I said, no, I'm not. I'm not a patient person at all. But I found out that no one bothers you when you have a knife in your hand. And like I said, my knives I make out of old straight razors. And this is one of them. This is a grip that I like the most. In fact, if someone wants to make a knife, I could demonstrate that. It takes about 11 hours on a knife, so it'd be more than a day. But whenever someone wants a knife, I say, which handle shape do you like the most? What size do you like? And whatever fits their hand the best, I make the knife around their hand. And the straight razor, I don't use the fancy ones. I use those that are partially rusty, those that are falling apart. You get them for a couple dollars, or people give them to you. And so I make that out of a straight razor. But I found early on, straight razor has that very fine point on it, edge on it, that many times the older ones, there's some fine hairline cracks in there. So the first thing I do is I put it in the grinder and I take it off, and you'll see the pieces flake until you get the solid material. That's when you start making the knife. Then I have several wet grinders, a coarse and a fine one, and between that and the basic grinder is how I make my knives. Any questions? The handle on the cane? There is those screws that they use on tables. One side has wood screw in, the other one has a machine screw. Well, the wood screw part goes into here, into the basswood, softer, and then this is the harder wood. I tap that to match the other half, and then I epoxy it. Load the holes up with epoxy, turn it together. This case, I had to match up the lines on it, and it's epoxied together. And the wood grain on this, I try to have it at angle so that it's not straight across. It'll greater chance of breaking up in here. But yeah, that's done with a shaft and epoxy. And then this one here, I did a little bit more. I actually have a copper water pipe coupling in there that I have in here, in the bird, and in here, and it's filled with epoxy. That's why I started doing them.
On the
Good.
first game, you have a pattern that you repeat constantly. How are you transferring that pattern onto the cane?
This? Oh, this one? I went and now each one is different. If you look at this, they're bigger on the top and smaller on the bottom too. And I started off, I went in and had lines, 4 lines down here. Wait, this one I actually had taken this board and cut it close to shape, and then I went and tapered it on a jointer. I put it over the end of the outfeed and ran it through a couple times so it's smaller on the inside. And then I went, and so I had straight lines, 4 straight lines down there. And I took my divider, or my compass. I went and measured the width here. I put a mark there. Measure the width here, put a mark, measure the width. So as it went down in the taper, it kept getting smaller. And when I got down to this point, I said that was enough, and so I decided to just put some straight lines down here. But instead of having this measuring the lengths here and having it elongated when it got down here, I wanted to have the same shape, but I wanted it smaller. So I base it off the width. I put a mark. The width, I put a mark. And then from there, it's just a matter of connecting dots. This one I went over a couple of times. Like I said, I had a hard time. I was playing with it, trying to get the fuzz out of there. I thought, what? I got a wood burner. And I went and took that in there and burned that darker area in there. And I took my nylon brush and brushed it out, and it ended up with that.
Not that locker on there.
This is deft, yes.
How do you make the clay models?
The clay models, I'm trying to remember the name of the clay, but it's just a clay that you can bake. I just and you can see there's some detail in here, but not a real lot. It's just to get the basic shape and the wood out of there. This one ended up being sitting on a stool, so I just put a block of wood underneath there, and I just made it out of the clay and put it in the oven for by hand, yeah. By hand, and I got some clay tools. I also had a class in clay modeling too. We started off with a 2/3 size skull, and we built a face from the inside out. Put the eyeballs in. We put by the time we got done, we put eyelids over the eyeballs, the ears over the top, the hair on top of it. So we built it from the inside out, and so based on that, I had to get certain tools and I use it to do this. This is actually the carving that I ended up with. And it's, in some ways it's sad. I have a son that passed away of cancer. And 39 years old. And he had a little stuffed dog that he had when he was a baby. And he kept it with him all his life. In fact, he had that at the end in his room with him. So that's why this carving is for my son that passed away. Okay. Question? Yes?
Do you ever buy any of your rough outs out of the catalogs?
Yes. I didn't bring any with me, but I do have some at home. They have, you can get them in catalogs, and they have the instructions, and as far as the patterns, they work out very well. And I've always found that they were a high quality wood. Some of the best basswood that I ever was able to get is in Upper Michigan, Upper Wisconsin, Minnesota, because of the growing season. But some people, when they harvest it at the wrong time. You're supposed to cut it down in winter. You within a month or so, you should be cutting it into slabs, and then from there you dry it. And the way I dry it is I wrapped it in plastic and put stakes between them, and put a dehumidifier in the middle of it. And as the dehumidifier dries, it pulls that moisture out of it, and until it gets real cold. And then since the wood is in the garage, the dehumidifier won't work. But I had some of my best basswood I had by producing it that way. But my brother cut down a tree, and he had it there for almost a year in the woods. Then he sawed it in slabs. We had it cut in slabs. It only cost me $25 or so to cut it in slabs. But I had about 1,100 board feet, and more than half of that went in the fire pit because it was spongy. It wasn't good wood. But whenever I bought the roughhouse online, or in a catalog, they've always been a high quality wood. You can also get these like eggs and stuff that are basswood. When I first started buying those eggs to carve things out of, I made a mistake. They were maple. It's really difficult to carve maple. And where's that little one, that little angel? Okay. Oh, now the angel, I carved a number of these small pieces like this, but trying to hold on to that is very difficult too. If you carve two of them, and you hold on to one and you carve the other, you flip it over and you carve that one, and you cut them in half and you finish the detail, and then it works. But it saves a lot of fingers by doing that way. Any other questions?
How long are your classes?
Whatever it takes. And when I lived before we moved to Bradenton area, we lived in Ellington, in Colony Cove, and they had a wood shop there, and we used to get together once a week to carve together, and we just worked on our own projects or something. We all carved, or they all carved gnome in there. They carved some of the other ones, but it's whatever time it takes. Some people did birds, but now I live in a community that does not have a wood shop, so I have a few basic pieces of equipment in my garage.
Is there any fee for your classes?
No. I just enjoy carving, and I enjoy teaching and working with carvers and stuff. The first class I usually teach is something very simple where you learn how to use the knives and you learn how to look at the grain of the wood and then sharpening. One of the first things I do is talk about sharpening the tools. I had a class from a gentleman, we were doing a mountain man, and he was just carving through. I thought my tools were really sharp, and he was just sliding through the wood. And it's just, I looked at me, it just had a little slight different angle than mine. I went home that first night, I resharpened all my tools. The next day I was there sliding through the wood just like he was. And so when I took classes, I not only learned to do the piece, I learned the process. I looked at how are you holding the piece, how are you holding the tools, and what tools do you use for what type of cut, and so on. This one right here, there's no sanding on any of my parts except for the ones I use power carving. There's no sanding on here at all. All of it is done with just sharp tools.
Wow.
And so there's no sandpaper touched this at all. So if you have the sharp tools, you can do it.
Thank you. Thank you. How many carvers do we have in the group? 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Awesome. Okay. All right. We'll if anybody's interested, there's a couple of things that I'm not a carver and I have no vision whatsoever, but if there is interest, please contact me. There's a couple of things he's doing that I'm definitely interested in. So if there's interest, please say something. Okay? And now I think it's break time, so you can investigate all the stuff that he laid out there, and we'll get back to it. Oh, buy more raffle tickets. It's just unbelievable. So I'm going to turn the next show over to Mr. Marvin, and he's going to call you by name. Maybe if he can, he's trying to turn a mic on right now. All you have to do is push one button, but it's he's in training.
Okay.
One button.
Okay.
Now you got it?
All right, Pat, you're up first.
Okay. I brought a couple things tonight. This is the item that I took to the state fair. This was fun to do. I put all these marbles in here, then I epoxied it, and then I finish coat epoxied it, and then I turned it. And this got me first place at the fair. So it was really fun to do, just out of an experiment, and really the amazing part, if you get it just right, you can't even see the marbles because all you can see is the cat's eyes. So it really came out beautiful. What inspired me about this whole thing to do this was I couldn't let Marvin do it all by himself. He did it with seashells, so I did it with marbles, you know. And I made another piece tonight.
You made that just tonight?
Yeah, this afternoon.
I was here, you wasn't doing that.
You can't tell those secrets, okay? Somebody gave me this piece of wood, so I decided to turn it. I got done turning it, I really liked it, and I found this piece of wood. It was laying up there, and I turned it, put a little finial on top of it, and it really kind of come out. I like it. So my wife said, you got to finish this for me. Okay, so the only reason it's down here is because she wanted the top coat put on this. She is a painter, and this is a sample of her work. Yeah, she does. She does some marvelous stuff. Absolutely. So, are you done now?
You have one more piece there.
Do I? What else? No, that's not mine. Yeah, it is. No, it isn't. No, Jack, your name's right there.
Oh, is that your Jack?
That's Jack's.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll work real hard.
Well, okay, well, you can go ahead. You want to hold the mic and I'll hold the piece.
There we go.
Here, I'll hold that. There we go.
I'll speak loud. I worked real hard on this. That is, I turned the CNC router over to Jeff Smith, and Pat did the spray on it. So basically, what I'm doing is giving this present to my daughter, and that's it.
You
for
made the
me.
frame, Jack. Come on.
Well, the frame, it's a curly maple or tiger maple, and I got it from a friend in South Georgia. Ugliest looking log you ever saw in your life, and somehow he managed to get some stuff out of it, and we were really surprised it turned out to be as pretty as it is. I actually made the frame, so I guess I can claim part of it.
Thank you, Jack. Terry?
I bought one of those Rockler juice screw. Give him the mic, Jake. Okay. I bought one of these Rockler juice groove jigs for putting a groove in cutting boards. So normally you use a plunge router on it, but I didn't have one of those. So I just used my trim router and put a plastic base on it. The only thing I found with it was it does so many chips in there that you got to have a second set of hands with the shop vac going around in front of it to pull the chips away. Because if you don't, on here on the bottom of the bushing, there's holes in it, and what it does, it packs the chips in there. So that by the time you get around to the second curve, it pushes it away from the jig, and by the time you're the third one and coming down for the last home run, you're about a quarter of an inch off. So we found that out on the first one, but thank God that the cutting board was thick enough, we planed it out again and figured out what it was and reset it on there, and then we just had a guy follow it. I mean, I know some of the routers have the port on them that you can put a shop vac right to it, but I had 2 or 3 guys in the wood shop that were more than willing to help. So it worked out pretty good. So I've sold like 14 of them. I had one lady, I've probably been making them for 15, 20 years, had one lady over that previous time asked for one, and once I did it, the last 2 wood shows, they're really taking off. So, there's that.
Bill Clark.
Yeah,
You want to talk into that? I'll hold your piece. Is that?
Yeah, that'll work. Everybody hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
This was a piece of laurel oak that was cut down from a tree that was alive at 8 o'clock in the morning. And by 2 o'clock, I had it turned. It was soaking wet. It's been in the microwave a couple times. It's about 3/8 of an inch thick. And then it started to warp. I don't know if you can see the variation of what's happened. Yeah, that too. I did everything for the last month trying to.
There. Is that on now? Oh, yeah, there it is.
All right, thanks. Let me start with a picture of the final product here. This is in our front yard. birdhouse on a 2-inch PVC pipe. And the PVC pipe is actually put down over a laurel snag, a young tree that was really in a place where I didn't want it because it's going to compete with a live oak that I want. So I cut it off about 3-4 feet, put the pipe down, and amazingly, it's pretty darn straight up and down. So then the problem was to get a way to attach a birdhouse that we got at Walmart. Yeah, thanks. To the top of this thing. So a little bandsaw work and a little work on the lathe, and that slips right down into the pipe. And so now, hopefully, a couple of those bluebirds that we've seen in the yard will make use of this thing.
Okay, I think it's Bob.
Well, this is not a project per se. Okay. You can just hold it up. This is a shop tip. Everybody has a tool that the vacuum won't attach to, that the fitting won't go into, that it won't match up. We've got all kinds of them here in the audience tonight. All this is these happen to be Gatorade bottles. If you take a Gatorade bottle, slice the center out of it, put your two fittings in, get your heat gun out, and shrink one, put another one over top of it, shrink two, and you'll end up with a fitting that, I'll let Marvin do the squeezing, but you can't damage it, you can't hurt it, so it's just going to stay on that particular tool, and it matches everything. If you
There you go, Pat. Another use for a Gatorade bottle. Tom.
Yeah, I can do it all. I did this also. Here's a piece of Norfolk Island pine that I got out of, would say, Pat's wood pile. And I got a lot of pieces of Norfolk Island pine. But this is the only one that I went and had that the knots were, let's say, even enough that I could go and actually have that little star on the inside. And when you're turning this, you rough it out to go and get an idea of where your knots are going to be. One of the problems is the knots are never on the same angle, depending on the tree and where it is on the tree. So you've got to go and actually start working on the outside and the inside at the same time, so you can figure out what you want. But you have it thicker, and then you go and let it dry for a while, because otherwise, we'd say the branch, the center part of it, will go and end up shrinking even more. They've done a little bit here, but not that bad. But would say, in other words, I take care of all the knots in that there, because they always crack. And I've gone and filled them and everything, so it's a nice smooth finish and that on there. And of course, you can't make it an even thickness, because otherwise it'd only be about that thick. Because you look at the size of the knot, and that's all you've got, and you're going to have a nice, really thin little disc. So you don't go and do that, and that this is an end grain turning, it's not really a problem with it cracking that way, or would say warping out badly. So, and of course the finish on that is the Howard's Butcher Block conditioner. It's what I put on everything. So.
Larry.
All right. At our Christmas party, I made a couple of these for the presents. I made them out of cherry and walnut, and I had this piece of really pretty curly maple, so I thought, well, that'll make a really nice one. And I cut it out at the same time, and the problem is this curly maple is really flexible. And in the process of sliding that handle into the notch, you just wiggle it a little bit and it pops that very thin little piece right off the top of off of there. So I had to make a whole nother side, and then being extremely careful the next time and fitting those arched handles in took a lot of handwork to get them in there. So the temptation is to just kind of put them in there and twist them and push them in place, and the minute you put pressure on it, that thing will pop right off. So you got to be very slow and careful and work with a chisel and get it so that once it fits one side, it'll go into the notch on the other side. And same thing with the little piece on the end. It has to fit the sides. Well, on the cherry ones, I just cut them at, this is 22.5 degrees. I just cut the ends at 22.5 degrees and pulled the sides up. But you go pulling them up on this thing and something pops. So had to check the angle on each side. They were like 2 degrees off, and then cut the pieces so that they had the right angle on each end and nothing got forced into place. Everything just slid in very carefully. So it was just the nature of this curly wood was just really brittle and snapped easy, so it made it slow doing all the custom fitting to get it in there. But I thought it turned out really pretty. I like it. I like the design when I first saw it, and I like the wood for this design. That's it, boss.
There's a couple of guys, and maybe there's more than that, but there are 2 guys that been in this group for quite a few years, and Joe Mickey's one of them. And I don't know how many of you know Joe. I know several of you know him very well. Joe's not doing very good. Okay, so it's too bad. I talked to him today. Part of it's his medication. He's trying to get it straightened out and stuff like that. But he's 100% on oxygen. So hopefully he gets his medication straightened out and he can come back, or he makes it back. And the other one is Ed Colombo. I don't know how many of you know. Some of you know him, some of you don't. But Ed is not doing well. He had a seizure. So those of you who believe in prayer, say a little prayer for both of them. But it's just, I just kind of, that's information that you don't normally know, and I try and stay in contact with them. The Browns haven't been here for a couple of months, so I'm going to give them a buzz, find out if they're mad at me or if they're something else, you know? Okay, so now, your turn, right? Okay, the man with the money. You can put this on.
Yeah, that requires effort. But I have a big head. It doesn't fit. That's the problem. All right, first up, we'll do the door prizes. Again, there's 3 door prizes. Everybody signed in. Last chance? Okay. Roll 'em, boss. Which way? Now you go the other way. There you go. And the first winner is
30.
number 30, Todd Jones. There you go. You pick from one of these 3. Yep. These are 1, 2, 3. Okay, up. Next one. Lucky 13.
Neil McCullough.
Neil? You win all the time, Neil. What is the crab bag or the solar lights? No, all of them. The biscuits and everything. Not the kind of biscuits you eat, I'm sorry. Still some cookies in there. They're called biscuits in the UK.
Number 25.
Number 25.
Catterfull.
Yeah.
Bob.
Catterfield. Okay, and then next we'll do the raffle for the red tickets. So pull out your red tickets. Again, it's the Woodpeckers 6-inch stainless steel square. There's no 8 in the last digit. And our guest will pick the number. Oh, wait a minute. He just did a sleight of hand, switched out his number. I saw that. Come on. All right, the first 3 digits are 577. Anyone match the first 3? 845. There you go. You win the square. This is the box that it goes in. Thank you for everybody else, and we did make enough to pay for the square, so I appreciate that, everyone. And now what we'll do is we'll take the blue ticket. You don't need to worry about the ticket you have because we have your name on the card if you follow the instructions. But ask a woman here, most of the men probably didn't follow instructions. So it's everybody from last month and this month. The total now is up to $95. We'll pick a number. That person will come up if they're here and pick one of these cards and win or lose accordingly. So since I said women are more trustworthy, would you please? Annie Jones. No, it was not. Chip. You just won. You just won again. So now you pick one of these cards.
Chip, you want to go to the casino with me?
Mega Millions is up pretty high, so pick one of these cards and we'll see if you... Well, you can pick this one was what we prefer. There you go. 7 of clubs. Thank you for your contribution. So again, this rolls over, so it'll start at $95 next month, and your chances now are 1 out of 8 if you get drawn. This ticket is already won, so you're going to have to buy another $5 ticket to get back in the race. But that's what we had for tonight. Thanks for signing up for the picnic. I'll be in touch but we won't need to worry about it for another month, April 14th, and we give it back to the boss man. The lost man.
There you go. Now you're good. Hey, thanks for coming tonight. It was a pleasure having you. I think we're done. Right, Larry? Larry says thumbs up. Turner's meeting is Monday at 7.